Hey folks, welcome back. It's October. I know we haven't done a fresh video for quite some time. We've been really busy. We've had some personnel changes along the way. So we're back into it again. So it's our monthly newsletter. And what we're going to do today is talk about harvest. We're going to go through with Alan DeWitt, our winemaker. We're going to go through the different steps of harvest because we've got a lot of that going on right now. And it's really neat because we can capture some of his time, which is really hard to do, as you know, especially during crush. So we're going to look at the scales, we're going to go into destemming, we're going to talk about fermentation and all those kinds of things that you never get to see because a lot of you can only come down on the weekends and you don't get to see what happens here on a day-to-day basis. Remember that wine just doesn't jump into the bottle by itself and there's a lot that goes on and I'm sure you can all appreciate that. So any other reminders? No, you know, we're coming up to the holiday season. I'll probably be giving you all a reminder fairly shortly about our holiday gift fair, which is coming up in December. But for right now, we're just enjoying the harvest, and we're just going to go chat with Alan and see what's happening with harvest.
This is where we receive our grapes. They come in either small half-ton bins or 5-ton big gondolas that are harvested by hand or by machine. They dump in the bin behind me. We have an overhead crane system to my left that actually picks these big 5-ton gondolas up and dumps them right into this receiving hopper behind me. At the bottom of the receiving hopper, there's an auger that pulls all the fruit forward. There's another one that's on an incline, pulls the fruit up and drops it into a crusher destemmer. Inside the crusher destemmer, the fruit is separated from its stem. The stems go out the back of the machine and are caught in the back of a box truck. The crushed fruit falls into the bottom of the machine where it's picked up by a pump, pumped overhead, and immediately in that direction we have our 20-ton fermenters or our bin fermenters, and that's where the fruit is going to live as it goes through fermentation. Some of the things we do prior to that process, we add oak chips into this crushing mechanism because that helps homogenize it into the tank. What that does, that addition, is makes the color, the pigmentation of the wine much more stable, also adds a little bit of texture to the wine. We also add an enzyme which helps sort of deteriorate the cell or the grape skin, if you will, and allows us to pull that color out. That's something we'll do ahead of actually crushing the grape. Everything else happens inside the fermentation tank. Once that's done, we press off the finished pumice, which is the mass of grape liquid fermented liquid, and the skins. We separate the two, we move them to a settling tank where the solids fall out to the bottom, and then we reclaim the liquid wine off the top.
The history of the scale, as you can see, it's something that is an antique. There's probably not many left like this. Are all electronic now, but this scale's been here since I can remember, and I was born and raised here. And it's basically utilized by us for grapes that we grow as well as grapes that we bought that would come in, and we'd have a weight certificate showing how much was crushed. But the other thing is too, when I was a kid, they used to raise a lot of chickens around here, fryers for food, not for eggs. And Ray Street Fish and Poultry in San Jose used to come down on with their trucks, probably 10 trucks, and they'd weigh empty at 6 o'clock because they collected chickens in the evenings. And so then they'd go away and come back about 2 o'clock in the morning, and I remember my mother getting up and having to come out here and weigh the full trucks, and I think we got $1 a truck, so for a weight certificate on that. So that's a little bit of history on that, but it is open to the public. It is certified every year annually, and that's kind of a little history on the scale that we've got here.
So that's pretty fascinating. We went to the scale. We learned about the scale from George. It's pretty neat stuff, the history around that, and the gearing and the mechanisms underneath there are really quite fascinating. And then, of course, we went through the entire process. We had a bunch of fruit come in today, almost 30 tons of Pinot Noir. were processed right there, even as we were watching it. Goes through the destemmer and up through the crusher and into the tank. What eventually happens to the wine once it goes through its primary fermentation, as Alan described, is now we age the wine. Behind me are the barrels that we use for our private reserve label. We have 3 labels here at Guglielmo Winery. We have the Heritage Red and Heritage White, which is kind of historic and classic in our tradition from the earlier days of blended wines. We have another label called Tray, and it's what we call our value varietal. Each wine retails for under $10. But our really limited production, handcrafted wines are our private reserve label. Now, there's something behind that. What is a reserve? What is a private reserve? There is no strict definition from the government or the Wine Institute as to what a private reserve is. But generally, it denotes a very limited production, handcrafted wine. So all our private reserve varieties are aged in oak. And you can see over here, on the barrel itself, it says oak chips added 3/16/12. That means Alan checked all this Barbera in March and decided what he wanted to do with it. Does it need a French oak profile? Does it need a Hungarian oak profile? Does it need an American oak profile? And we actually work on this together. George and Alan and Cindy, our tasting room manager, and myself, we actually go through what we call oak trials. You may have seen that in the past. And we decide what the wine needs to do, where it needs to go, if it needs to go anywhere. So I hope you appreciate what we did today. It's a lot of fun. It's very exciting for everybody to watch what's going on here. Like I said, it doesn't happen on the weekends. We wanted to bring that to you today so you can experience part of Crush as we experienced it today as well. And without further ado, that pretty much wraps it up for this month. And you know, I don't know what we're going to do next month, but we'll look forward to it. We're going to have a lot of fun, right? See you next time.